Brian Pritchard, FetcherNews.com, and I'm here today with Speaker of the House of the State of Georgia, Mr. David Ralston. Mr. Speaker, thank you for sitting down with us here at Fetcher News. I know you just finished up a busy session of legislation in downtown. Take a minute and highlight the session and what came out of it, what legislation you're most proud of, and what came out of the session you'd like to share with our viewers.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to visit with you and with your viewers. It's always good to be able to have a chance to report to the people of the 7th House District on what we accomplished this session. The thing I'm most proud of is that we accomplished in 39 days this session what Washington can't get done in years and years and years, and that is we passed a balanced budget for the state of Georgia, and we did it without a tax increase. That's the one thing that we're mandated by law that we have to get done. We did it on day 39 of a 40-day session. I think it's a responsible budget. It's one that I think reflects our priorities as a state, and so I was most proud of that. There were some other issues that I was proud of. I was pleased that we were able to pass what's being called one of the most comprehensive Second Amendment bills to ever come out of a state legislature in the nation. A strong pro-Second Amendment bill that I think protects the rights of Georgians to possess and bear arms on private property. That bill came about because of concerns that people had over what was going on in Washington and whether the Congress or the President was going to move either legislatively or by executive order to infringe on the rights of citizens to possess and bear firearms. It was a 2-year effort. We weren't able to get it across the finish line last year. We were this year, and I was pleased that we were able to do that. We also struck a blow against Obamacare in Georgia this year by the passage of legislation that will prohibit to some degree the use of state resources to implement Obamacare in Georgia, and I think that is something that Georgians wanted. We worked awfully hard to get that measure passed, and I think that I'm very, very proud of that. We also passed a measure which that we had worked on since the end of last session that will prohibit the use of taxpayer funds through the state health benefit plan that will be used in abortions under that health plan here in the state. So those are some of the measures that I was particularly pleased in this session.
Well, Mr. Speaker, although it was a short session and we understand a lot of that's been brought on by the election laws and having to get out of there for campaign reasons, but you brought up some of the legislation. Some of your critics might say that the Obamacare was watered down. What happened to House Bill 707? They might say it didn't go far enough. I'm hearing it didn't go far enough. What happened to House Bill 707?
Well,
or excuse me, how would you answer your critics to say it's didn't go far enough?
Well, you hear that criticism often, you know, the bill in its original form was well intentioned, but it had some problems as a legal matter. Part of the problem was that it made illegal under state law which was legal under federal law, which would have created a real dilemma, I think, for our citizens. It also would have jeopardized a lot of well-intentioned programs such as the Peach Care program here in Georgia. It would have jeopardized the student loan program here in Georgia and many other programs that were completely unrelated to the Obamacare, the health care aspect, in the way it was drawn. And so we tried to, it wasn't a matter of watering anything down, it was a matter of drawing the bill in a very precise, careful way, so that we didn't do what they did in Washington in passing a careless piece of legislation that nobody knew what it accomplished. And so we worked through the process and drafted and redrafted a bill that I think did accomplish in a very specific, focused way that which we were trying to get at, which was making sure that our state resources, that which we have control over as a state, were not used to promote or implement or encourage this Obamacare health plan here in the state of Georgia.
Sir, what would you say to, and let me bring up a couple, what would you say to some people say the legislation that should have, their words, come out is the House Bill 309, the autism bill, SB 167 prohibits schools from testing on materials tied to Common Core, and SB 350, the foster care bill. What would you say to people that said, why was that not as important to get that agenda through as gun control?
Well, let me...
I didn't mean to say gun control. I want to apologize.
Yeah, no.
Sorry about that.
We're not for gun control.
No, sir. I'm sorry.
Let me take those not in that order. The foster care reform bill, I'll take that one first. We passed that bill in the House. There was some concern in the House about that bill. It was a narrow vote. It was a close vote, but we did pass the bill. We passed a bill that we thought was what the Senate would agree to, which was to try out a pilot program of privatizing these foster care services for a 2-year or 3-year period of time, and then let's assess, how much success we're having. Are we seeing improvement? I supported that. The House supported that. After we passed it, then we find out that the Senate sort of moved the target on us and said they rewrote the bill on the last night of the session and changed it from a pilot it remained a pilot program, but then it became permanent at the end of the pilot program, which would have made having a pilot program kind of useless. And so I thought that defeated the purpose of looking at that. The governor had announced the day before the creation of a council to look at this issue over the coming year, which I thought was a good idea. I think the issue is one that deserves some very, very serious attention, I am reluctant without looking at more information to turning over to for-profit entities the welfare of our children here in Georgia. I am willing to look at that on a pilot basis, a pilot program basis. We were agreeable to doing that. We thought we had an agreement till they kind of moved the goalpost on us. And so when they did that, we felt like that sort of ended that discussion there on the last night. The Common Core was we spent a lot of time discussing and debating that issue. A lot of controversy over that issue between educators and people in public education and outside of public education, and we worked awfully hard to come up with a middle ground that would allow us to continue looking at that, and we will continue to look at that. The Senate passed a bill, and when it, frankly, when it got into the committee in the House, we simply didn't have the votes to pass that bill. And so our committee spent almost an entire day, heard from 60 plus witnesses on all sides of the issue, and took a vote, and that's kind of where it ended up. And some of the opponents of Common Core, I encouraged those who were opposed to Common Core to kind of come together with those involved in the discussion and see if we could maybe reach a middle ground that would address some of the concerns. They frankly weren't willing to compromise even in the face of defeat. It was kind of an all or nothing approach, and so that's kind of where that ended up this session. The autism bill, that was a bill that was opposed by groups that represent small business owners all over Georgia, many different groups. It's an insurance mandate. You know, I'm very, I have a great deal of sympathy for families that struggle with that condition in their homes. And that's why we took the lead in increasing funding for treatment and early detection and for research. We increased funding in the budget for the Marcus Autism Center in Atlanta. We increased funding for the Autism Center that's located in Savannah. We initiated a pilot program in the state health benefit plan that will cover some of the spectrum of autism conditions. And we did that because one of the things that I kept asking for and never could get was, how much is this going to cost small business in terms of their insurance? You know, small business is in a very uncertain time now because of all the insurance mandates that come with Obamacare. And this is an insurance mandate. And I never could get the kind of, I never could get information about the cost. I was assured, well, it's going to cost a little more, but we're not sure how much, but it won't be much. But because I couldn't get that information, I was very uncomfortable moving forward and handing off a price tag to small businesses that are still struggling to recover in this economy. I think this pilot program that we are doing now through the state health benefit plan will give us over a 12 to 18 month period data that we can then have to know what is the cost so that we can look small business in the eye and tell them it's not going to cost you that much, or here's what it's going to cost, so that we can make intelligent decisions and well-informed decisions before we enact these kind of mandates.
This budget increases spending on education. Could you share that a little with us? What increases are in there for education in this budget?
The state budget is about on level this year with what it was in fiscal year '07. We have cut the budget during the economic downturn, and education got cut. We put back in the lion's share of increases this year went to education, over $900 million in additional K through 12 spending into education. The second largest increase was for higher education, including our technical colleges, which are a great success story in which our area depends so much on and means so much to this area. So hopefully this all over the state will allow all the furlough days to end and will allow most, if not all, of the systems in the state to begin catching up with the austerity cuts and the things that that they had to do to adjust to the downturns that we went through during the tough economic times that we've all been through. But it was a good year for education in the budget.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate you talking about the session and the budget and the legislation that came out. I've got one more thing on that before I'd like to go to another subject. I know our time is short. And I'm going to ask you, these are my words.
Sure.
Okay. In a budget increase year with education, and some would argue back and forth on that, how does a $17 million parking garage for the Atlanta Falcons slip into that budget?
I'm glad you asked me.
How did that get in there?
That was not for the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. That's how it's represented, so all due respect,
Well,
that's how we hear it.
Well,
so I apologize if I...
No, that's fine. That's how you hear it from the Atlanta media.
Okay.
And you're not like the Atlanta media. The campus around that facility is booming and getting ready to boom even more with economic growth that's going to benefit not just the city of Atlanta, but the entire state. In May, the National Civil Rights Museum will open. Later this year, the College Football Hall of Fame will open, that we attracted from Ohio down here. There will be a new hotel opening on that campus down the road in a few months. There's going to be expansions to the World Congress Center, which already is attracting events from all over the world, literally. You have concerts, you have all kinds of events that bring people from all over Georgia, all over the country, all over the world there. Parking has been an incredibly, has become an incredible problem there. Less than 4% of that parking deck will be used for Atlanta Falcons parking.
So it's going to be used to facilitate the economic growth in the area.
It's going to be used by...
Those are my words.
Yes, it's going to be used by all of those things I just mentioned. You can't have that kind of economic development without a place to park cars.
Okay. Well, as you said, we hear it out here outside the Beltway. We hear it a little different, but I appreciate your answer, and
well, I appreciate the opportunity to set the record straight.
Let's move to your campaign. Not
Sure.
only as Speaker of the House, you're also the representative of the 7th District, Fannin, Gilmer, and a portion of Dawson County. In January, you announced your re-election bid over here at the Fannin GOP, and you made one comment that this is a campaign about a narrow agenda of anonymous special interest groups. Some of those are starting to surface on the internet and stuff. They're not quite as anonymous anymore. How's the campaign going, and what would you like to discuss on that?
Well, I think I was pretty prophetic. I think those groups are out from outside the district are beginning to surface as I predicted they would. Some of them are still anonymous, some less so. I feel good about the campaign. I'm enjoying it. Obviously, you know, up until a couple of weeks ago, I've been doing the job that the people of this district hired me to do 2 years ago, and so I haven't had as much time as I would have liked, except for weekends, to spend in the district doing events. I've come back some during the evenings, but now that I'm back, I'm enjoying going around and doing some door to door and going and visiting at country stores and you know, visiting with a lot of friends and making new friends, and so I'm very encouraged. I think it's good for those of us who ask people to entrust us with public office to have dialogue with the citizens, and I'm encouraged. I'm blessed to have a lot of friends and supporters across the district and that are helping in the effort, and so I feel very, very good about where we are.
Well, I'm the Pritchard family, so I get all these.
Actually, that's for your wife.
Yeah, I figured that was. I figured it was, and she made that comment too. But I get all these from all the candidates, and I received this the other day along with another one you sent out already. And you spend a lot of time on this, and I'm going to bring it into a circle, explaining the importance of having the Speaker of the House. In the 7th District having the Speaker of the House. Let me ask you a question though, and I want to give you an opportunity to answer something your opponent said. In March, he spoke to the Fannin GOP, and this is his quote, Mr. Snyder's quote, "I'm not running for Speaker of the House," and he challenged the room to write down 2 things the Speaker of the House has done for your county. If you have a blank page, if you have things, vote for him. If you have a blank page. So he challenged that group. So tell that group that what things specifically, what would you put on that page?
For which county?
Well, I guess any one. I mean, because he's challenged. I guess my words are he's challenging you. He's challenging them to look at what is the importance of being Speaker of the House. And he says, I'm not running for Speaker of the House. I'm running for your representative. And you know some of the things that's been said. So, and this does highlight the Speaker of the House position more than the 7th.
Well, let me answer that this way. He's not running because obviously he won't be the Speaker of the House if he wins this race. He'll be the representative from the 7th District, and the Speaker of the House will be from somewhere else in Georgia. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. And I don't know who the Speaker will be. Georgia has had 72 speakers in our history. We've never had a speaker from North Georgia. I didn't know that until the weekend before I was sworn in January of 2010. And that was when it dawned on me, that was a kind of a powerful moment for me. Because it made me realize that I was stepping into a special office representing a special area at a special time. And I'm going to answer your question in a moment, and I'll fill in the page, but I hear a lot of these people chattering about, talking about our performance. I didn't hear any of those people back in 2008 or 2009 when the House of Representatives was in a shambles. And in 2008, I didn't get patted on the head when I put my political future on the line and challenged a sitting speaker. I knew that one of 2 things would happen. I would win and be the speaker, or I would lose, and I would lose my chairmanship, and I'd get booted out of my Capitol office across the street, and that would probably end my time in Atlanta, and that was okay, because I believed in doing the right thing, and I lost. But you know what? We were right in doing that, and it came back around. And a year later, we had a special election because of many of the reasons that I ran in 2008. But all these people out there now that want to talk about, and be critical of what we're trying to do in the House, I didn't hear a one of them raise a voice and say, gosh, isn't it kind of neat that somebody's doing the right thing for the right reason? I didn't hear any of them. They're all out there now wanting to criticize. So I treat this, I tell that story just to say that I take it as an honor, not for David Ralston, but for this area of Georgia, for me to be in that position. Because I love going around the state, and the job takes me around the state. And I love saying, I was born and raised in Gilmer County, and I live in Fannin County, and I got family in Dawson County. And I love telling people about this part of Georgia when I go around the state as Speaker of the House. That's pretty cool. It's a great feeling. We're going to fill in the pages, and we're going to talk about what we've done. We're going to talk about in Fannin County. The people here, they can fill in the pages. They can talk about the new driver service center here, the renovations to the State Patrol office. We're going to be making an announcement about a higher education facility here soon. That's in the budget. We're going to be talking about some transportation enhancements that we've been able to accomplish here in this county. Gilmer County, we're going to talk about, what Channel 5's already talked about. We're going to talk about the fact that in December of 2009, before I was elected Speaker, Erlanger Hospital was looking for a community, and a state was looking to partner with Georgia and looking for a community in which to locate an air ambulance, because they wanted to have a base in North Georgia so they could serve Union, Fannin, and Gilmer counties. That base was going to be in Blairsville until after I got elected Speaker, and then they called and said, guess what, we've decided now we want to put it in Fannin County. I didn't ask them to, but today it's in Fannin County, 25 minutes from their trauma center at Erlanger. And I'm kind of proud of that, because I know that lives have been saved because of that. I hope, he can put that on the page. Gilmer County, he might want to go talk to the fire department down there about $240,000 worth of search and rescue equipment. They had dilapidated, out-of-date, non-existent equipment. We live in mountainous terrain. They didn't have the resources to go conduct mountain search and rescue operations. We worked with the Georgia Forestry Commission to obtain that for them back about a year ago. We obtained private financing, over $15,000, to finish off the kids' cottage down there. Again, transportation enhancements with the flood, with the famous visit to the county commission meeting. When everybody thought I drove up here to bring the check, I was just going home to have supper that night and stopped off to leave the check and to go by and see the county commission meeting. And we've got some more announcements that we'll be making to also put down that comes out of this session. I didn't go down there to see what I could bring back from Atlanta. I thought it was time Atlanta got some of what we could send, some of our values, and that's what I've tried to do too.
I'd like to cover two more things. I know our time is short. I would like to get two more things before we end quickly. What about in the district if people say, we didn't see you before. We didn't see you at the school. We didn't see the pictures here. We didn't see you there. We didn't see you at the Gilmer GOP meetings. But what do you say to that? And that there has been some talk about, I'm going to call it what I call it, photo op. I'm going to call it that there has been, and that in the past, you don't do town hall meetings, and I won't say that as affirmative. I've just never been to one or heard one announced. You don't hold town hall meetings. So what about what would be considered maybe a disconnect that with the constituents here in the past several years? How would you answer that?
No, absolutely not a disconnect. I think that not to go to a GOP meeting is certainly not an indication of a disconnect. I go to civic club meetings when invited. I've spoke at civic club meetings, Rotary, retired teachers, school functions in both counties very frequently. You know, I think my problem has been, very frankly, Brian, I haven't tooted my horn enough. You know, we didn't get out a press release when we did the funding for the emergency equipment for the fire department in Gilmer. You know, because when I did the air ambulance up here in Fannin County, Channel 5 came up here and did a story because they seemed to think that was some big deal that it was located here in Fannin County because I live here. I told the reporter, you know how many times I want to ride on that thing? None. So, you know, I guess I haven't been a very good PR machine for myself. But in terms of disconnect, I mean, that's I mean, my family lives in Gilmer County. I live in Fannin. I mean, I'm here all the time.
I've seen you several times, so I'll attest to that. And we were at the when the airlift thing opened. We were there, by the way, so I did see you there too. I'll end by this. I want to ask a question and get you to comment, and this will be the last thing I want to talk about. One, two-part. Are you pro-life? And I think I've heard, and these are my words, that you're proud of your pro-life stance and your accomplishments as a representative and the speaker. Being that, I got a follow-up on that. So could you share are you pro-life? And
I am pro-life. I mentioned the taxpayer, the no use of taxpayer funds bill that we passed this year. But let me tell you about a bill that we passed 2 years ago. We passed what was at the time one of the toughest pro-life bills in the country, the fetal pain bill, which basically ensures that there will be no abortions in Georgia after 20 weeks. It was a very controversial bill. It was a bill that no special interest group wrote that bill. It was written in my office there at the Capitol with people like former Representative Doug McKillop and Representative Terry England and now Congressman Doug Collins and myself. You know, a group of us got around the table and wrote that bill. And the net result of that bill, and I think you have a letter from Georgia Right to Life that basically says what I'm saying about that. And it talks about the number of unborn children that will come into the world because of that bill. That makes it all worthwhile. I'm proud of that bill, and I'm proud of what we did this year.
Well, you know, that's being you brought that up, and I do have a follow-up, and I promise we'll close with this. But it's pretty well known that you and Georgia Right to Life have had a couple differences, okay? And I have been reading on the internet all over the board on both sides about the new Georgia Life Alliance and National Right to Life continued their charter with Georgia Right to Life and moved it over to the Georgia Life Alliance. I have read things, Mr. Speaker, from it's politically motivated. I've heard so many things, but Georgia Right to Life and you have not always seen eye to eye. And I think they were about to send out, or going to, an endorsement of your opponent. Is there a reason why they won't endorse you, or did they not, or say they wouldn't? I apologize if I put it in.
I don't know who they're going to endorse, and I frankly don't care. There's one endorsement I want. That's from the voters of this district on May the 20th. I'm not in the endorsement game. You know, I've heard, I don't really keep up with my opponent's campaign. I've heard he said he's already been endorsed by him. I don't know if he is. Look, they are a special interest group. They have been now disenfranchised by their parent organization, which means they're basically now an illegitimate group. And they're there for a reason. They're that because they have lost their credibility as a special interest group at the state capitol, because it's their way or the highway. They sided with pro-choice, pro-abortion groups last year when they were trying to pass a pro-life measure in Washington. You know, I believe if you can save 1,200 unborn children a year through passing the fetal pain bill, you do it. You don't say, well, no, we're not going to do that bill because it don't go far enough. Because if you can't pass one that goes as far as you want, or it's not your idea, then those 1,200 lives would never have been born. That's their problem. They value their political relevance more than they do the cause that they should be about. That's my problem with them.
Mr. Speaker, anything today that you want to share with our viewers that we didn't get a chance to cover? Or?
No, I'm just happy. It's a beautiful spring day, and I've enjoyed visiting with you. And
Absolutely.
I look forward to the next few weeks, and then we'll get this campaign out of the way and start enjoying the Braves season and fishing and gardening and
I like it
all those things.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Brian.
it. Brian Pritchard, FetcherNews.com, and we've been here today with Speaker of the House of State of Georgia, Mr. David Ralston, and also 7th District of Georgia Representative. You know what I say, don't complain, go vote. I don't want to hear it.